Okay, so I think we're all set. So I have a new light. You're gonna have to tell me what you think about it. I'm gonna fiddle with it for the last time. And I think we're ready to start here. So, episode 15, Aargau. Hello there, everyone, and welcome back to Lady Qi'ra's Galactic Adventure, where we traverse the universe in our Correlian Corvette Cruiser, the Vindicator. I am, of course, your host on this excursion, Admiral Qi'ra Vandare of the Alliance to Restore the Republic. This time, we are continuing our exploration of the interior as we travel to the planet Aargau. If you have no questions, comments, or concerns, then make sure to gawk at the beautiful form of Cassian Andor in Andor, episode 4, I believe. You know which one it is. Question, how did this happen? We're smarter than this every single moment of every single day, and remind people I'm a Mandalorian. Weapons are a part of my religion. This week on Lady Qi'ra's Galactic Adventure. Like most of the planets that no one on this tour has heard of before the show, there is little to no information on Aargau in canon besides its general location. But we're going to cover it anyways, of course, because there's a bunch of crap in Legends. Aargau is an astronomical object located at L10 in the galactic grid, as we like to say here, and was the headquarters of the Bank of Aargau. For normal Star Wars fans, the Banking Clan is really the only banking operation mentioned in mass. So, are y'all ready to learn about some obscure bank that's mentioned in Aurebesh in the Book of Boba Fett and in some Legends book about him? In canon, the Bank of Aargau was broken into by Zabrak criminal Easy Jukan, Easy Jukan's crew, and they used bank courier repulsor trucks to transport their money. In Legends, the Bank of Aargau was a subsidiary of the Intergalactic Banking Clan, all coming back to the Banking Clan, of course, responsible for handling nearly every aspect of financial transaction on Aargau, and owned a significant amount of property in Coruscant's financial district. For more information on the financial district, go check out the Coruscant episode after you listen to this one. This one will be kind of short. Apparently, Boba Fett, infamous Boba Fett himself, had an account with this bank, which is kind of cool, I guess. That was boring, so let's put on our Legends lenses and get back to the planet itself. And yes, I know that was the most cringy bit I've ever done in my life. Before we speak about the planet, you should know that Aargau is located in the Zug system, so you know what that means. It's system time, baby. I just realized we should probably come up with like a theme song for system time. So, let's do that. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's system time! I'm sorry, headphone users. The Zug system, also known as the Aargau system, was a 9-planet star system centered around a single sun, Zug. In the first orbital position is the moonless molten rock, Qi'ra. In the second orbital position, we have Zaur, a planet with a Type 4 atmosphere that was covered in a methane ocean. In the third orbital position, we have Aargau, which we will cover when we cover everything not as cool as it, which is debatable in and of itself. So in the fourth orbital position, we have Azamin. Azamin is an arid terrestrial planet with 2 moons named Darrell, and I will not be elaborating on the bit. Go catch up on episodes if you want to know. I think it was the Coralag episode. No, before that. I don't. Fifth, we have Zaur, one of 4 gas giants in the system with a record of the most moons we have ever seen on this show. Place your guesses, pause this and place your guesses in either the comments if you watch on YouTube, the Spotify Q&A, if you listen on Spotify, or a 5-star rating which I will read on the air on any other platform. Now that I have given you ample time to answer, it is time for said answer. Ready? Zaur has a whopping number of 47 moon/Darrells, which means that it is one massive planet. We talked about that an episode or 2 ago about mass and how that contributes to gravity, and yeah, just catch up on episodes, okay? In the 6th orbital position, we have the planet Urazun. Yet another gas giant with a wimpy amount of moons when compared to Zaua, a mere 38, which I'm pretty sure puts it in second place for the amount of moons, but still wimpy. Also, gas giants, because of their heavy gravity and gaseous and high-pressure atmospheres, do all have Type 4 atmospheres for the most part, I'm pretty sure, which are environment suit required if you were actually wanting to go on the surface of them. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go listen to the Correlian episode, or maybe the Scacco one, since they're both kind of relatively short, where we deep dive into the different types of atmospheres planets have in the Star Wars universe. In the 7th orbital position, though, we have Aargau, yet another gas giant with 14 moons, all named Daryl. See, you're catching on. 8th in position is Lazrau, which is, you guessed it, yet another gas giant, this time with 13 Daryls. Moons. Daryls. Finally, 9th in position, we have Ulu, an ice ball with 1 moon. Daryl. Actually, there's an asteroid belt called the Coins of Gawa at the outer reaches of the system. But with that out of the way, let's head back to the 3rd orbit position to Aargau. Firstly, the specs. Aargau has 1 moon, named Daryl, a rotation period of 24 standard hours, and an orbital period of 364 local days. It is a terrestrial planet with a Type 1 breathable atmosphere, a temperate climate, and standard gravity. As we discussed before, the Bank of Aargau is based on this planet, and let me tell you that this planet was in the right place to make a profit. It is close to Coruscant and situated along major hyperroutes that ran through the sector, such as the Correlian Run. The amount of influence the bank held on the planet actually led them to directly control the governance of it. They governed the planet on a statute known as the 3 Statutes of Aargau, and violation of any of these 3 was considered a capital offense, even to visitors from off-world. Here are the 3 statutes, word for word. Oh, and by the way, disobeying one of them would result in immediate execution. Number 1. The unlawful removal of precious metals. 2. The unlawful possession of weapons by non-citizens. And 3. Willful conspiring to defraud, discredit, or deceive the Bank of Aargau will result in immediate execution. You know. The bank's wholly owned subsidiary, Bank of Aargau Security, was at the time of the Galactic Empire the largest privately owned army in the galaxy. This display of military power was meant to deter foreign powers from invading the planet, but in reality, Aargau's financial position already ensured this was an unpopular notion. Another subsidiary was Bass Bank Customs, you know. Look, I'm not going to say it every single time. It's like the Confederacy of Independent Systems. I'm just going to call them the SEPIs, right? Was Bass Customs, which heavily monitored all goods coming in and off-world. Much of Aargau's surface was covered by the city, but not all of it was. There were jungles and mountains. It's just the cities were the most populated, as cities tend to be, you know. Wow, I don't know where my brain is today. While the higher, newer levels of the city were sated to the planet's political and financial power, the millions of years old lower levels, referred to as the Undercity, were home to a seedier element, which included members of the Galactic clan, the same family that Jabba the Hutt is a part of. Due to Aargau's unique laws, this group of people were free to conduct their somewhat shady business, mostly in peace. What a bunch of slemos, am I right? Before we get into the history, let's quickly talk about 2 major landmarks, I suppose we could say, on the planet. The Intergalactic Banking Clan Arcology and New Escrow. Firstly, the ICB Arcology, which is a massive pyramidal structure on Aargau owned by the Intergalactic Banking Clan. There was another building, such as this, on Coruscant. It was said that Hailfire droids during the Clone Wars were being produced here, but the results of the Republic's investigation were inconclusive. Next, onto New Escrow, the capital city, which is home to the Garden of Butterflies and the oldest spaceport on the planet. There was also a murder here, or an assassination, or an accident. We'll talk about that later. The history of the planet is expansive, with its first being settled millions of years ago, which is more than we could say for most planets that we've covered this far. There is a structure on the planet called the Dawn Pyramid of Aargau, which is considered one of the 20 wonders of the galaxy. The interesting thing about this pyramid is that it was built by an ancient civilization known as the Sharu. The Sharu were an ancient humanoid species from the planet Rafa 5, who built multiple technological anomalies like the Mind Harp of Sharu, a strange object that constantly changed form as it shifted through dimensions. The rest of the information about them is kind of mind-melting, so read at your own risk, I guess. The pyramid, though, was built of iridescent, indestructible plastic and featured sharp edges, and the Sharu first came to the Zerg system to build it at least 100,000 BBY, but later withdrew to their home system, buried their cities, and drained their intellects, which may have been in response to the growing celestial civilization that controlled much of the galaxy at the time. Aargau was discovered by the Republic and the Galactic community at large between 20,000 and 17,000 BBY, in the period of time referred to as the Great Manifest Period. We don't exactly know when they first came to the planet, but humans became the primary species there. By 3963, Aargau was considered a major financial center, with the Bank of Aargau controlling commerce and governance as we already established before. Flashing forward a few thousand years to the Clone Wars period, since we don't have much information on the interim, we have a murder on our hands. Senator Axmo of Malaster was killed in a bomb explosion in New Escrow, a city on Aargau we mentioned before, he was visiting the planet to negotiate a deal with the Intergalactic Banking Clan to secure funding for a proposed Republic military initiative to deal with the Separatist crisis. Interesting. Almost seems like we've heard this same story before, but with a Jedi. Cypher-Deus, right? It's interesting how much Palpatine planned ahead. Like, we knew he had Plan Ds and Plan Es and Plan Apps, but he planned all the way to Plan Z, which was, I'm gonna die, here's how the rest of the galaxy is going to suffer. And he did that. Technically twice. Let's not talk about that anymore. I don't want to talk about Papa Palps. Sorry. Actually, we have to talk about him later, so get ready! It was rumored that the death of Axmo may have been caused by the Separatists and would have been deemed an assassination, but it has never been confirmed. With the stuff that Dooku was doing, I would say most probably, I mean, he's Dooku, you know. When the Clone Wars did break out months later, though, Aargau maintained a neutral position, despite the Banking Clan's immense influence on the planet and with the Separatists. This made the Republic nervous, so in a very controversial move, they garrisoned a large peacekeeping force of clone troopers in major cities, breaking one of the 3 statutes from before, but the Republic sent their diplomats before defensive action could be taken by the Aargauans. Yeah, maybe not your smartest move, Jedi Council, but that's not very shocking, is it? Skipping forward another 20 years or so to the Galactic Civil War period, Aargau retained its neutrality throughout the war, which meant that both the Alliance to restore the Republic and the Galactic Empire could conduct business there. In 3 ABY, Princess Leia Organa of Alderaan attempted to secure a loan for the Alliance that would enable the organization to procure several T-65 X-Wing starfighters. That's the basic level of starfighter that we see throughout the original trilogy. The collateral presented for the loan were the priceless crown jewels of Alderaan. Remember, at this point, Alderaan is gone, and has been for about 3 years, because it's 3 ABY, which is after the Battle of Yavin, and you know, Alderaan was destroyed like a day before that, you know. So they're legitimately priceless, because there's no crown to link them to, because Leia is the last surviving member of the royal family. See, you get it. But guess who was also there at the same time? The Burnt Chicken Nugget man himself, Darth Vader, man. It tries to stop the loan from going through by stealing the priceless Alderani jewels as soon as the Alliance's loan was approved. Both Organa and Vader were tried in absentia following the incident and were recommended to be arrested should either of them return to the planet in the future. During the Imperial Civil War, which is different, by the way, Aargau became a New Republic fortress and was garrisoned with a fleet consisting of hundreds of warships. Between 10 and 11 ABY, there was a battle fought between Emperor Palpatine, newly zombified, and his army versus the New Republic there. I don't have any information on that, I'm very sorry. Luckily for the people of Aargau, they were able to avoid conflict with the Yuuzhan Vong, and their 300 trillion body count, which I covered in last week's episode, which I highly recommend listening to and or watching if you want to see me spiral into chaos. And on that note, I think we're done here. And that is everything I have for you on Aargau and Canon and Legends. I hope you enjoyed your journey this week and your stay so far aboard the Vindicator. If you have any questions or concerns about your stay, feel free to bring it up with one of our personnel on board via a private message or a DM. Perhaps on our TikTok accounts at Shadow Collective Rules or at Unidentified Robot, or maybe on Instagram at Lady Qi'ra, which I'm rarely on, I'm being very honest with you, or perhaps with a review of our show, or perhaps if you want more of me, I don't know why you would, but you could head over to patreon.com/LadyKiraProductions, and for only $5 a month, you can have access to tons of additional content in our exclusive Discord community. All of those usernames and their respective platforms will be listed in the show notes. Next time, we will be journeying to Tipasi and whatever cool worlds I can cover in preferably half an hour or less. Until next time, my friends, companions, and droids, may the Force be with you all.